The Rock and Rudy here to preview UTSA and UNT. It's homecoming week for the Roadrunners. We're going to try to get into more depth here as the UTSA Roadrunners host the North Texas Mean Green, a Sweep the League special UTSA edition. Welcome to the Birdcage. Rock, are you ready to talk UTSA, UNT? Give the fans of the Birds something to listen to before the game gets started.
Man, I'm definitely ready. I mean, it's going to be a really good game, real exciting, and you know how heated this rivalry is. I've been seeing a lot of people on Twitter go back and forth about it, but the one thing I saw from one of my friends tweeted, Joe Longoria, he is saying that it's kind of sad how UNT, talks all this mess, but they've only won one conference title in like the last, I think, decade or so, and then UTSA comes in their own conference and wins the conference championship already in such a little time. So it's kind of funny, but obviously UNT leads the series all time. I believe 5-4, and this is their 10th meeting. And UTSA is coming off a loss last year that was brutal in the rain, but they should be really excited for this game.
Yeah, I mean, we cannot forget that. You cannot forget the fact that UTSA was 11-0 heading into the UNT game, and guess what? UNT did pull up the upset over UTSA last year. So the rivalry is there. It's a heated game. It's a heated rivalry. Seeing a lot of stuff on Twitter, like tons of stuff on Twitter over this game here. We will talk about packing the dome here at the end of the show. Again, we're going to be here with you probably for about 15, 20 minutes or so, going over some news and notes for UTSA, UNT. Again, man, we're going to dive right into this here. I mean, right now you're looking at the two best teams in Conference USA right now. UTSA is number one. UNT is number two. UTSA stands right now at 5-2. North Texas is 4-3. Both are 3-0 in the conference. So that goes to show you that this is a very, very huge game for both teams, because this basically gives you control of the conference right here. Overall, these teams, Brock, let's point out the obvious here. Defense is actually not the greatest on both teams, on both squads. You got the UNT, that's probably one of the best rushing teams in the country. And UTSA doesn't really have a stout rush defense. Passing game, it's kind of like UTSA's forte on the offensive side is passing the ball. Frank Harris is in the top 5 passing yards, is one of the premier quarterbacks in college football right now. The receiving core for UTSA is going to give North Texas a ton of problems. Let's preview the defense first, Rock. Defense for both sides. I mean, it's probably going to end up being a shootout more than likely, right?
Oh, for sure. That like I agree completely with you. For the Mean Green, their pass defense ranks 123rd, while their run defense is 105. So they're allowing, they're scoring on offense, they're scoring points, but they're also conceding nearly the same amount of points. So on offense, they scored 36, but conceding at 35. So it's going to be, a real big shoot, like you say, but, it sounds good to UTSA Roadrunner ears, but I mean, UTSA's defense is not that great either. Last week they allowed against FIU 323 yards, and I get it. It was a blowout. The stats can be inflated, but still, that's not good when you're playing a team like that. And UTSA's end, they're a little bit better, but they're giving up 29 points and they're scoring 36. So it's going to be a complete shootout. But it's just going to come down to who's going to make that one play that's going to shine near the end of the game.
Yeah, it just seems like it's going to be I don't know, man, because looking at it, will UTSA be able to stop North Texas's run? Let's just call a spade a spade. It's going to be tough. I mean, you've got tons of guys on North Texas, mainly not Austin. Well, Austin Alney is their quarterback there. He's not really much of a threat. I mean, he's only like 1,692 yards passing, 17 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 56% completion rate. But when we get to the backs, Ayo, I'm trying to pronounce it.
I think it's like Ayo Adi.
Adije.
It looks like it, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry if I'm butchering these names, but you also have Oscar Attaway the third. I mean, you're talking about two guys that combined are over 1,100, almost close to 1,100 yards, 7 touchdowns. I mean, Iowa is averaging 8.3 yards on the ground. Oscar's 5.2 yards on the ground. But not only that, I mean, you've got receivers there. Like I said, Roderick Burns is there, 27 receptions, 402 yards. They're not going to really beat you, I think, through the air. It's going to be the run game that
Um,
really is what's going to do for North Texas. Can UTSA stop that run, Rock? That's going to kind of be the focal point, I believe, going into this game is stopping the run of the Mean Green.
I mean, I'm not with the players every day, and I'm not the coach, so I'm not, there to tell, UTSA fans here, okay, they're gonna stop it. They're gonna put a great amount of effort, but I think the one key thing that we need to also realize is UTSA is really beat up on both sides. Jeff Chandler has been emphasizing it these last couple of weeks, and they've been still pulling out victories. But he even said it in his post practice interview today that they're just beat up on both sides, and they need this bye. And the way he described it was just saying that they need to find a way to win. And he doesn't know how, but they need to find a way to win. That should just speak volumes right there because he knows it's going to be a tough game, and he's not expecting them to go and focus on stopping the run. Yeah, does he want to stop the run? Of course, you're a head coach. You don't want to have the best offense out there, but it's going to be a hell of a battle. And the main thing is, I think the two main things that are going to come down to what decided is how many fans show up, and obviously there's no rain, so it's going to be a big difference from last year's game, I think.
Yeah, it's the run game for me. I mean, they've got to be able to stop that run game. Here's to hoping that UTSA can't stop the run game because I think if they can get a few turnovers, I really feel like if UTSA can get a few turnovers, it's probably not going to be as close as people, are making it seem. That's just me going out on a limb there. I really feel that North Texas defense won't be able to stop I guess the air raid. Now it's kind of weird saying that with UTSA because that's more of like Texas Tech type thing, but more of the air raid. Frank Harris, like I said, he's fifth in the nation in passing yards, 2,300 passing yards, 15 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. But look at the receivers on UTSA. I mean, DeCoy Clark, you've got 44 receptions, 678 yards. That's 11th in the nation. Zachary Franklin, 49 receptions, 678 yards. That's 13th in the nation. And Cephas, 50 receptions, 604 yards. That's 20th in the nation. Now, Clark and Franklin both have 7 touchdowns each. Cephas has 2. But I mean, you're talking 3 guys in the top 20 in the nation. And that is where I think this difference is for this UTSA Mean Green game. It's gonna be one in the air. And I think UTSA will be able to pull this game off through the air. And I mean, we'll give you the scores here in a little bit, what we feel, but preview that UTSA offense, Rock. I mean, are you seeing kind of what I'm seeing going into this game, that it's just going to take maybe a turnover or two by UTSA to really get the ball rolling, maybe get that 14, 17, 20-point lead heading into that final quarter?
Oh, for sure. Because I mean, if you look at last year, arguably the offense was run sincere. The UTSA did have those receivers, and they balled out. I mean, you've seen how much they've grown from last year to this year, and they have a hell of a receiving group. But coming this year, they know the run game's not that as good as it was last year with Sincere at helm. But I feel like their receivers really make the difference, and it takes off a lot of pressure off not knowing. We don't have a run game, but you got to stop our receivers. You saw it. I saw it personally firsthand. In the UTSA games that I've gone to here, but when they played UT being a national program, having 5-star athletes, but they couldn't stop UTSA's receiver. They couldn't even stop Frank Harris at one point. UTSA was in that game, but we all know how the result ended. But UTSA is one of the best trio receivers in the nation, and I really mean that. You compare it to put it up against any Power 5 program, these guys can ball out. So, and given that North Texas really is bad against the pass, it's going to be a Frank Harris show, and you're going to see them put electric numbers that's going to get a lot of national attention. I think this is going to be one of the games on Saturday, the games of the week, basically.
Yeah, so last the game, Harris threw for 303 yards, 2 touchdowns against Florida International, and they ended up winning that game 30-10. So, I mean, we're going to get into quick scores here. The last 3 games, and we're just going to go through conference games because both teams are 3-0. North Texas beat UTEP 31-13, Florida Atlantic 45-28, Louisiana Tech 47-27. They pretty much dominated those 3 games right there in Conference USA. UTSA, on the other hand, I mean, you got Middle Tennessee State 45-30. Western Kentucky was 31-28. very close game. But Western Kentucky is one of the tougher teams. Florida International, we just mentioned 31-10. It just seems like there's no like the defense is what I'm so worried about because both teams can put up points as it's shown. I mean, in Conference USA play, both teams will and can put up points. Safe to say, Rock, are we seeing probably an over under for this game? Easily 65 points, 60, 65 points.
Oh yeah, 100%. I think if I want to take it even further, I think I saw over under somewhere where it was at 70 points, man. I mean, you
I'm
have
gonna look that up
arguably
while we're going. Go ahead. I'm gonna look
you
this
have
up.
yeah, you have arguably who's going to be the conference player, offensive player of the year with Frank Harris. And UTSA, love UTSA, I'm an alum, but their defense is just isn't there and they're hurt. But you're gonna have a big shootout, man. And like I said, it's gonna be real electric. But I feel like this could also be a preview, to the conference championship. I feel like these two teams are just going to stay afloat atop of the standings. And you're right, like you said earlier, whoever wins this game is gonna have an easier course to the Conference USA Championship, but nothing can be taken for granted. I mean, this game beyond how the teams match up, it's a rivalry, so you got to factor that in. You got to factor the fans, just the atmosphere that's going to be in the emotions that they're going to go into, and they both hate each other, man. It's just that hate that always goes with these rivalry games in any sport. You just never know which way it's going to go.
Yeah, it's 71.5 right now for the over and under.
Yep.
Man, I'm almost curious to say that that's almost a little too low. I mean, we're talking, I think there could be an easily a score of 45-38, 45-35. I mean, you're talking what, almost 80 points in combined scoring. I mean, I definitely saw I'm definitely intrigued by that line. I think it might actually go higher than 71.5. The game is at the Alamo Dome here in San Antonio, Texas at 2:30. So be sure to pack the dome, get out there, support UTSA. And Rock, you mentioned real quick, we're gonna get into this too, because you said say North Texas does come out here and they do get the dub. You've got UAB, Louisiana Tech, Rice, and UTEP for UTSA. The one game that I really feel is a tough game remaining is that UAB game, which will come after the bye because UTSA will get a bye after this week. But say UTSA gets the win, which we're expecting here. North Texas still has Western Kentucky and UAB on that schedule. So their schedule is super tough. Now, I mean, you go 3-1 if you end up losing. If you're UTSA, I still think you come out as conference champs because I really, other than the UAB game, but you're coming off of a bye. I think that game would be a little bit more manageable to where if you weren't coming off of a bye. But this is a massive game, I believe, for the Roadrunners because if you do get that W, you're putting North Texas at a major disadvantage, like I said, with Western Kentucky and UAB still on their schedule.
No, yeah, and I completely agree, man. I mean, I agree also with that UAB game, but I think a sneaky game that could be a little trap game, some fans may disagree, is that UTEP game at the end of the year also. I mean, it's the same colors, and you saw, on Twitter, of course, fans going back and forth, one claiming, oh, we had orange and blue furs, this and that. It's kind of weird. It's like their same symbol that they use in a sense. It's just, I don't know, it's just kind of weird, but the Miners, they're coming here. The last game, you don't know if UTSA is where their mindset's gonna be. If they're right there in the standings or they're going to overlook them. But nothing can be taken for granted. But I just think UTSA has the best overall talent in the conference to where if they beat North Texas, like you said, they're in the driver's seat and they could see North Texas again at the end of the year.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's, like you said, a nice conference preview here. Other than that, I mean, Western Kentucky, I still feel has a really good opportunity to make that conference game. But this game would put UTSA definitely in the driver's seat, giving them 4-0 in the conference. I like their chances of winning the conference if they can get through this UNT game. Prediction, Rock. We're getting ready to the end of the show here. Predictions. What do you think as far as UTSA, UNT go? Give me a little bit of a preview, the Rock preview here, score-wise, and give me some stats, whether it be Frank Harris or whoever, who you think is going to ball out this game?
Yeah, so I'm riding with the runners. I think it's going to be a close game, and whoever comes up top is going to be by a field goal. I think it's going to be a complete shootout. You're going to see one of those games that you see with like NFL games. Like it's going to be esque of Bills Chiefs. it's going to be one of those big shootouts where you're just on the edge of your seat to the very end. And I think it's going to be a super electric crowd because everyone wants to come out to the game. They're really promoting it, and whoever listening, please come out to the dome. Jeff Taylor said they at least need 30,000 minimum. 30,000. And even if you're not a UTSA fan, just go cheer on a San Antonio team as much as you cheer on when we had the AAF with the Commanders or when we're going to have the XFL. Cheer on San Antonio if you don't have a team. Cheer on UTSA if you don't have a team. These guys are homebred. And there's nothing better. Cheer on UIW as well. I have nothing against them. Cheer on all the San Antonios. Go Trinity, Our Lady of Lake, in any sport. But the biggest thing is we need to rally behind these San Antonio kids. But I think UTSA is going to come up top. You're going to see Frank Harris with 5 touchdowns total. I think 3 passing and 2 rushing himself. But it's going to be a super close game. But I got the runners by 3.
Runners by 3. Okay. And like I said, I echo that sentiment. I do have UTSA winning this game. I know they're beat up, man. They are definitely beat up for sure. I totally get that. But I think they look deep down inside. They understand the importance of this game. They understand what happened last year. I mean, UNT was the team that kept them from a perfect season outside of the bowl game. I mean, UTSA was 11-0 going into last year's game, and they got tripped up by North Texas. So I know that fire burns deep, especially in guys like Cephas and Frank Harris. I mean, Zakari, these guys, they know what happened. And I think this is the reason why UTSA does get it done Saturday at the Dome. I'm going with the score of 44-37 is what I'm going. It's going to be a touchdown victory for UTSA, where I think the difference is you're going to see a defensive turnover, or you're going to see a turnover on the North Texas side late in the fourth quarter. UTSA is going to come up with a big fumble, big interception. It's going to kind of seal the deal. You're going to see North Texas driving, but I really feel that the Roadrunners defense will step up late in the game to stop North Texas. 44-37. Give me the Birds. You called Frank Harris with 5 touchdowns. He's going to be your baller of the week. Well, I'm going to say Frank is probably going to end up getting quite a few touchdowns. I don't know if it's going to be 5. I got him pegged for 4. I see him probably around 340 to 350 and 4 touchdowns. My MVP this week. I'm going to go with the man himself, Sakari Franklin. I think he's going to go for about 2 to 3 touchdowns this game. He's going to be he's going to be the target for Frank in this game right here. Probably a good 120, 130 yards on North Texas. So Sakari Franklin's going to be my baller of the week. So that's our preview for UTSA. As Rock mentioned, go support the Birds. Coach Trailer is asking for 30,000 plus in the Dome. We can easily get that. Pack the Dome this weekend. But not only that, UIW is doing fantastic as well. You've got other programs here in San Antonio. Be sure to support all your local football teams. You may think it doesn't make a difference, but it really does. These guys are out here balling for you guys, playing for you guys every single week. These are the stars of tomorrow, so support them today. So for Rock, you got anything left, Rock?
No, man. I mean, I'm excited, and Birds up.
Yeah, Birds up. So for the Rocky Garza, this is Rudy Conversation. We previewed UTSA, UNT. We'll come back on Monday with the post-game show. So Birds up. See y'all at the Dome. Pack the Dome.
Eat meat.